watch your soul, cause it'll leave you like a hole in ounce of gold with no rainbow. You'll never make it on your own. They've got a way to make you stay. They'll take your pride and make you pray to stay alive. Well, they survive off your games, no matter who you are. Fighting is just hiding all your scars.
Approximately 35 of our 50 states support the death penalty. This means that approximately 70% of our nation is supportive of the capital punishment. According to a video by Gallup poll, the support of the death penalty has actually increased over the past few decades.
One of the first questions that the Gallup poll asked Americans way back in the 1930s was about the death penalty. At that point, back in 1936, the data showed that 59% of Americans favored the death penalty for a person convicted of murder. Now, we've asked that question off and on over the decades since. That's been almost 75 years, and just recently updated it again in our October crime poll. And what did we find? Well, the percentage is actually higher now than it was in those Depression-era years. 64% of Americans say that they favored the death penalty for a person convicted of murder.
The death penalty has actually lowered crime rates in these 35 states. Statistics from Emory University show that for every one person executed, a potential 18 murders were prevented. According to a 2006 study, the Illinois suspension of the death penalty in the year 2000 actually increased an average of 150 murders for 4 years to follow. Barack Obama does support the death penalty, as spoken at the Illinois Senate debate.
Well, I believe that the death penalty is appropriate in certain circumstances. There are extraordinarily heinous crimes, terrorism, the harm of children, in which it may be appropriate. Obviously, we've had some problems in this state in the application of the death penalty, and that's why a moratorium was put in place.
Another Gallup poll, which asked if American citizens were in favor for the death penalty for a person to be convicted of murder, over 64% declared they were for the death penalty. 30% said that they were against, and 5% posed no opinion. In yet another Gallup poll, which asked, which punishment do you prefer for people convicted of murder? The death penalty, life in prison without the chance of parole, or a long sentence of prison with the chance of parole? 52% said death penalty. 37% said life in prison without chance of parole, and 9% said long prison sentence with the chance of parole. Stories of the murders of families and teenagers such as Faith Hathaway should pose a question in your mind. Is it acceptable just to disregard justice to families who have lost a member because of another person's spite? In this case, the answer should be no. Faith Hathaway was 17 when she was murdered by Robert Willie, whose story became the inspiration for the film Dead Man Walking. Hathaway had just graduated from high school and was leaving for the Army the next day. She was abducted after leaving a farewell party in Mandeville, Louisiana. After being on death row for several years, both Willie and Vaccaro suddenly became eligible for a life sentence in federal prison and were eligible for parole in 25 years. However, the fact that they are serving life in prison shouldn't pose as a relief to anyone. As long as they are still alive, the chance that they could escape is present.
I've been known to look for mistakes, to hold out for a flaw, and then let my love break. And I swore that I would always resist and leave every girl that didn't fit my list. Oh, but you showed up and I broke down, 'cause you're all that I had crossed out. But I can't keep from loving you